One of the highlights of the, which I highly recommend people watch, even though it's not a comfortable watch, was Jimmy Dore explaining, perhaps because we were one of the people who sort of criticized his tone somewhat. So he explained his personal struggle with medical issues that was quite, uh, I mean, it's a cliche, but it was heartbreaking.
Got sick, and I got sick in not in a normal way. I got sick in a way that was hard to diagnose. So my illness stretched out for over 3 to 4 years. And what happened was I would go to the doctor, and they would say you have this, and then they would prescribe something, and I would get sicker. And then 6 months would go by, and they would say, "Oh, you don't have that. You have something else." And then they would give me another treatment, and 6 months would go by, and I'd get sicker. And this kept going on and going on. And then they said, there's this guy, Dr. Sharp. You should go see him, Dr. Charles Sharp. He's the best guy, and he could fix you. Well, he didn't take my insurance. And by that time, I was already broke, right? We had health insurance. I mean, they just don't pay for stuff. They don't pay for MRIs and CT scans. And I had to have special different kind of tests that nobody else could get. And I had to go to special places to get them. And I had to pay for it all out of my pocket. And I know what it's like, right? And I know what it's like to walk into a doctor's office that you owe money to.
Especially he's very, I mean, even though I don't like his tone, his honesty is, it's not many people would talk about money issues or health problems, and he talked about both. And he did say why he's so rageful. And again, I mean, I understand that I'm not in his shoes, so naturally I don't fully understand. But even though I don't appreciate his tone sometimes, that's more of my issue rather than his issue. I completely understand his rage. Sometimes I just can't take it, because we had a few comments about that. So, but he gave a heartbreaking story about his struggles with health problems, and explained why he's so full of rage about this. There were a couple of moments in the debates that the debates became a bit aggressive again, because Jimmy Dore and others, they take it very seriously. But it was an interesting town hall. And while at this point, because the vote has taken place and we get to that, it may feel like a waste of time, but I highly recommend people watching it. It's interesting to see how the mechanics of, how at least in our circles, politics work, and how different people in the left view things. Because all of the people, in my view, most of the people at least, are honest actors, at least, even though they may disagree. But then, following that town hall, there were quite a few Twitter people, including Cenk, who retweeted or actually tweeted himself segments of the video and criticizing Jimmy Dore's tone and saying that this is a counterproductive tone. Then to be mostly online, I think most young people or most people active online are on Jimmy Dore's side, because most of the comments I saw on Twitter of Cenk was not in his support, was mostly in Jimmy Dore's support. Jimmy Dore also started tweeting. Basically, the war between Jimmy Dore and Cenk Uygur went to another level, and it's getting really personal. Cenk made a video, I think today or yesterday, about what we can do in terms of a strategy and all that. And in that video, Cenk clearly seemed to be, he was saying you shouldn't trust somebody who doesn't understand anything from politics, or who feels maligned because nobody goes on his shows to do the interviews with him, the people like he wants, like AOC doesn't apparently, or Bernie Sanders. They don't. AOC is especially hurtful because the first show she went on to was Jimmy Dore's show before she got elected. So the fight between the two got highly personalized, and Jimmy Dore accuses Cenk of getting money from Clintons and supporting NATO. And so the fight between those two guys got really, not really, but it got, it escalated and got somewhat dirty, you could say. Even Ryan Grimm, whom I respect him extremely, because I think he's one of the better, I never saw somebody explain internal American politics as well as Ryan Grimm does, but he also seemed to come on the side of Cenk, and he retweeted certain things that were negative about the town hall. So you can basically see there are three camps. There is the Jimmy Dore, you could argue Nico House, some other people's camp that are extremely rageful, and they are saying that whoever people who didn't do the force the vote are are fakes, they are traitors, blah blah blah. There is the camp like Kyle Kalinske, Crystal Ball, who says that they made a mistake. They're wasting time. They're misguided. And then there's the Cenk segment that is wholly opposed to this strategy and says that it was a idiotic strategy to start with, because you have to get rid of pay go first, which is a law that says you have to basically say how you're going to pay for something, that type of thing. One interesting thing in the videos was that both Cenk and Jimmy argues that if the vote for Pelosi hadn't succeeded, and his argument is that to become a speaker you need absolute majority, so more than 50% of the House to become the speaker. Cenk argues that no, you need simple majority. So if they didn't vote for Pelosi, there was a good chance that Kevin McCarthy, the Republican guy, would become the speaker. I recall a video from Brian Grimm actually that explained that no, you need absolute majority on Jimmy Dore's show. But I still haven't been able to find a specific, like a legal textbook or a specific constitutional amendment or whatever that explains that to me. So I'm really in the blind spot on that one. But that's basically what happened. Sadly, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Cenk Uygur in terms of content, but I do think I don't know, I don't see him as a sellout. I agree that he does push his channel a bit too much and he asks for money a bit too often every video. But, I don't think he's a sellout. So it's a shame that these two people have gotten to such a heated debate.